Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another fun-filled episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. And let me tell you, for this week, even though we don't necessarily have much animation news as other weeks, but I can definitely clarify that this is still going to be quite an exciting episode with plenty to talk about. And trust me, some of the subjects that we have right over here, oh, they are so fascinating, they are a lot of fun, and of course, keeping to the theme of keeping things crazy. So maybe this will be an episode that will emphasize more the crazy than it will the cartoon. But with all that said and done though, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I immediately want to go and ask you guys, folks, are you all ready for this week's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Because let me tell ya, this definitely is an episode where you have to expect the unexpected. Okay, it looks like we got some people that are ready. Yes, they are prepared. Yes, perfect. That is great. And now, without further ado, let's go ahead and get things started with our first story. And with our first one, now I know that I have said plenty of times in the past in this podcast that I'm not necessarily all that big when it comes to superhero films. Like, I'm not really the kind that would immediately eat things up when it comes to the latest superhero movies that would come into theaters. Like, I wouldn't be doing this podcast right now if that were the case, because I would be way too busy watching Shazam. But I will say, though, that there are some superheroes that I am a casual fan of. One of which being Batman, where even though I'm not a huge Batman consumer where I would read all the comics and watch all the shows and stuff like that, I do have a good general knowledge of who Batman is and the world of Gotham, along with all the different characters and of course of all the different villains. And of course I really do like plenty of the Batman movies, whether it be the animated ones like Mask of the Phantasm or even the live action movies like The Dark Knight. So for this week, it seems that we actually got a trailer, and it turned out to be the biggest and most talked about trailer of the week that, of course, it did pique my interest as well. So I wanted to go and check that one out. So why don't we go ahead and get things started on our first story as we go and check out the teaser trailer for Joker starring Joaquin Phoenix. So let's go ahead and check this trailer out right now.
If you just smile.
Okay, folks, wow. Now, there's a lot to take in just from this teaser trailer, but if there is one thing that I just want to get out of the way, it's honestly this one criticism that I do have regarding this new Joaquin Phoenix Joker. And honestly, it would have to be regarding the makeup, because, and this might sound like just a dumb little nitpick, but I'm yet to really dig into this new Joker, especially with the red nose. Now, I understand that when it comes to the Joker, he is also known as the Clown Prince of Crime. But never do we really see the Joker emphasize the clown aspect. Like, when you think of the Joker, you would think of, like, the Joker in a deck of cards. But in this case right over here, like, they really are leaning more towards the clown. Like, I understand, like, some of the makeup, like, you know, the big red lips or whatever weird eyebrow thing that they're trying to do, or even, like, around the eyes that they're putting makeup around that. Like, that is common that we would see with Joker, and even with Heath Ledger, like, he would have some weird things around his eyes, but the red nose, honestly, is something that I feel like it really does throw me off a little bit, and why it doesn't feel like any of the other Jokers. Now, again, it does seem like nitpicking, and I could even say, yes, it's actually a fact that what I'm doing is really stupid nitpicking, and I certainly will not let a freaking makeup on the nose to distract me from, like, the entire performance of Joaquin Phoenix. So I just wanted to clear that out of the way, that maybe it's going to take me some time to get used to seeing this new clown-like Joker. So that one, I feel like, it's go like just give me some time to really get comfortable with it. Maybe just watching the whole movie, then it'll be easy for me to settle in that this is legitimately the Joker. But I just want to say though, okay, with all that said, with all that aside, honestly, after watching this, I've already seen this trailer before, but honestly, even right now, even after seeing this again, when I look at this, when I see this trailer, honestly, I would actually say that this is the first time, or at least, at the very least, in a very long time, that I look at this, and I'm legitimately afraid of the Joker. This is one of the first times that I'm honestly scared of seeing the Joker, and that I see him as a serious threat that he is going to kill me. Because the thing is that when you look back at plenty of other Joker performances, or when you see different Joker iterations, whether it be in the movies or in the TV shows or in the comics or whatever, with the Joker, you know, sometimes you're excited to see him because you know you're going to have a good time. Like, the Joker is going to come in with his evil tricks, and you're going to have some despicable fun where it feels good to be bad, and you're going to have some comedy in many of his evil actions. So, like, yeah, it's gonna be evil, it's gonna be terrible what the Joker is going to do, but at least it's going to be a way that audiences are going to have fun with it. With this one, however, none of that. Like, honestly, the things that I see that happen to the Joker, whether it be towards himself or what he's going to do, honestly, it terrifies me. Like, I look at this and I feel like, yeah, this is Gotham's biggest monster. This is someone who is setting out to go and destroy the world. This is someone that must be stopped. And I think really a key element to that is the way that I see this, and honestly, more so than any other comic book movie, this feels absolutely believable. And maybe the factor is that we don't have any of the superheroes. Like Batman, I don't think Batman is ever going to appear in this movie. And that really does help a lot to make it feel like, yeah, this does feel absolutely believable, where this man would constantly be screwed over throughout his life and might have some serious mental problems, or develop some serious mental problems because of these incidents or these moments that would happen, where he would later become this criminal cult leader, where he's just going to be the cause of like just chaos throughout Gotham, throughout an entire city, where this is going to be his ultimate payback for the years that he's been constantly pushed back. And like, we see throughout the trailer how like he's been screwed over by so many people. Like, he even got screwed over by little kids. Like, you see, like, you know, the kids, like, they're just there to pick up his sign, they run with it, and then suddenly, like, poof, he got beaten up with him and leaving him like just down and out. And this is not the only time that we see him be taken down as well, where like we see him at one point, he's in a subway and a bunch of dudes suddenly just, they punched him in the face while he was just there like minding his own business. Although, yeah, it might seem a bit weird that he was like laughing maniacally in a subway, and like the subway itself just seems pretty dirty, and there were very few people there. So yeah, it's like it seemed like it was during a time when he probably shouldn't have been there in the first place. But you can see how like a lot of these scenarios just feel absolutely realistic. They feel like these moments can actually happen to anyone. It's less a comic book, and now we are into the realm of reality, and that's where it brings us this believable Joker, where now it really asks us the question about what if the Joker exists? Like, what if the Joker from the Batman comics and from the Batman franchise, if he becomes real life, then it would look something like this. Then this is pretty much our window of what if in a reality situation, because it is highly possible, and you cannot deny that there are people in real life that pretty much are like the Joker, where for many years they have been pushed back, they live terrible lives, And they decided that in order to have a comeback to the world, that they become these evil cult leaders and just, unleash hell upon them, to spread like terror, to spread just pure evilness all across as a way to, fight back for all the things that happened to him in the past. Like, these things can legitimately happen. Now, one thing that I would like to note, though, is that this is something that has been said many times regarding this movie, where with Joker, often when many people would go and analyze this feature, a lot of comparisons would be made, especially towards Taxi Driver and King of Comedy. Those two movies would often be brought up whenever people would go and discuss about this. And part of that is mainly because there was at one point, I don't know if he's still attached to this project or not, maybe you could correct me on that, but there was a moment when Martin Scorsese's was attached as a producer, and you could tell that there are elements where Martin Scorsese's is, like, even though if he's not in this production whatsoever, you could tell that there's a lot of influence with his works regarding the low, dirty, beaten down person and seeing his perspective of his life. So, honestly, it's from that perspective where they do try to play more into the realism to bring us this new movie that isn't necessarily a comic book movie per se. This isn't like a superhero film that's similar to any of the other DC films that we've gotten or any of the Marvel films. It's mostly trying to be its own film where its source material is actually based on something from the comics. So honestly, through that sense of realism, already I kind of got that fear of what the Joker could do. Like, we learn about his origins, and in a way they are trying to make him sympathetic to show how he became the Joker we know today as just someone who's been pushed around. And it almost seems, as Joaquin Phoenix actually said in this trailer, where it seems like his life was like a tragedy throughout, but then when he became the Joker, it turns out to be, for him, a comedy. And from there, I would say, like, in terms of the trailer itself, now, it is said that it is a teaser. And I could see the elements where it is a teaser because, for the most part, they just mostly show kind of his background. We see kind of the behind the scenes of who the Joker is, and we see a bit of that development. We don't actually see the middle part of how he would become the Joker, or we only saw little clips of him being the Joker, because we only just see clips about like how he's being pushed around, and then suddenly he became this cult leader where he has like a bunch of followers. Like, there's this one little clip where you see, I think it's this one, yeah, like you see a bunch of people rioting against the police, where the police is trying to hold them back, and you see people wearing these clown masks, and it's very, and like, if you look at these clown masks, like, they are very similar to the design of how the new Joker has his makeup, the red nose, like the blue eyes, and even the green hair. So in a way, this is to represent the Joker kind of as this cult leader, that you see people giving praise to the Joker, that they feel similar to him, and now they want to go and try to follow his footsteps. So this is kind of like the rise of an evil cult leader in Gotham, and trying to see what happened, what happened, like how he got treated. And then we see the evolution. That's honestly the part that we're missing. The part that we have yet to see in this trailer is honestly this evolution. How did we see him go from beaten down, the lowest point, to becoming like the crown prince of crime? Like, we have yet to see that full-on transition. At the most, the only thing that we've ever really gotten is the part where Joaquin Phoenix is just entertaining this child and he's forcing a little smile on the kid. Like, that's the only part that we've seen. Maybe we are going to see more when the official trailer would come out soon, but that has yet to be seen. But honestly, I will have to give it credit for this trailer that it did do a great job not revealing everything, but showing us, like, that's actually the main thing about this trailer. The point is to show us who is the Joker in this movie? Who is the Joaquin Phoenix Joker and how he became the Joker? Really looking into his origins of this interpretation of the Joker, because that is one thing to really note about, is the fact that it truly is a mystery. We don't really know what actually happened, and a good representation of that is in The Dark Knight, where the Joker, whenever he would talk about how he got the scars to make like that smile on his cheek, the way he would explain it is that he would constantly flip-flop his way. And even in The Killing Joke, in which some people can point out that there are some elements that are similar to what happened in The Killing Joke and interpreted into this movie right over here with Joker, where there are some similarities. But even in The Killing Joke, there are ways that the Joker would actually contradict himself compared to the origin story that we got from that. So it's always something that it would constantly flip-flop, and the true origin, like the true official canon origin of the Joker, it remains a mystery. But with this interpretation, like, maybe it's not gonna officially be canon, but it is still something that would be quite fascinating to check out and would really make a lot of sense regarding the character of the Joker himself. But there is honestly something that I will say that is an interesting thing to go and discuss about, because the truth is, regarding this trailer of the Joker, and even just the movie itself, is that, believe it or not, there is actually some backlash that's going towards this trailer. There is something about it that a lot of people do seem to be upset about, and it is raising a bit of a controversy. And the fact is that some people are actually worried that this might appeal to the completely wrong audience and that they might get the completely wrong message about it. Now, what I mean is that, believe it or not, and you might have seen this on social media, there are some people out there who legitimately really like the Joker. And when I say really like the Joker, I don't mean it in the way that they would look at the Joker and say like, oh yeah, he's an awesome villain. He's like probably the best villain that they made in DC. He's like the perfect nemesis for the Batman. He's just a great villain overall. No. I don't mean it like that. I mean people who unironically look up to the Joker. Like, they look at the Joker much more of a hero than Batman. Like, they would legit watch something like The Dark Knight, and they would agree in terms of the things that the Joker said. Like, they agree with the Joker's philosophies much more than, like, whatever Batman or Commissioner Gordon or even Alfred, or no matter, like, much more than whatever they say. Like, they won't care about you either die, like, they won't care about the message of you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself as the villain. Like, they rather care about the philosophies of the Joker. And what people are really worried about is that those people might end up looking at this and they would feel like that the Joker is somehow a protagonist of this movie. They'll look at this as the Joker is finally the hero of his own movie, and that they'll agree with him that, oh, it's not the Joker's fault that he became the villain. Like, people are, like, there are people out there that would legitimately think that it's not their fault that they have those problems, that it's society. Like, they'll look at this and they'll view this as a movie where society is the villain and that they need to be like the Joker in order to rebel and fight against it. You've probably seen those people making comments on that on social media, rather it be just for trolling purposes or if it's legitimately unironically. And we are seeing a lot of these people trying to be edgelords and trying to really combat society in really stupid ways. Like, a great example would be like the anti-SJWs, or the people who have this really passionate hatred for PC culture. Like, they think the worst thing to ever happen to movies would be whenever there's something that, like, they would put in some something PC into it. Like you would see those people ranting about like, oh my god, this movie is completely ruined because they try to force in PC culture by putting women into the movies. I hate women. Why is it that they have to force PC onto it? Like, those idiots right there. Like, you've probably seen a lot of those, and they want to try to rebel against society and the social norms, and the way that they try to do that is try to look up to the Joker. And honestly, on that regard, I do understand that controversy. I do understand the worry that people would have in terms of this movie, that maybe it will appeal to the wrong audience. And onto that aspect, I just want to say that, one thing that I do hope about this movie in particular is that it will find a way to not antagonize society. It's like, it'll find a way to say that regardless of what happened, you could sympathize with what happened to Arthur Reed in this movie and how he became the Joker. You could sympathize with him, but that doesn't mean he is the good guy. That doesn't mean you should always look up to him as the hero. You gotta remember, the Joker is a villain, and you should never be like the Joker, because the thing is, the Joker is a psychopath. The Joker is a psychotic terrorist. And if you support the Joker, that means you too are a psychotic terrorist. And there is no way that you could tell me otherwise. There is no way that you could convince me that the Joker is a hero. Considering that throughout the comics, throughout the TV show, throughout the movies, this dude has a legitimate, massive kill count. And on top of that, he has done a lot of insane terroristic acts that have been highly prominent in many of the movies and the comics and the TV shows. In fact, I got a perfect example for you. You guys remember The Dark Knight, right? You guys remember the moment when the Joker blew up a hospital? Yeah, I am not kidding. I mean, like, in The Dark Knight, we don't see anything bad about the hospital. We don't see how it is, like, completely corrupt or how it really screwed over the Joker. The hospital was not the cause of turning that person into the Joker into the first place. But the Joker still went in and he decided, why the fridge not? Let's go blow up a hospital, and killing several people in the process. So that's the thing, is that you cannot be like the Joker. And honestly, I do hope that it really does emphasize that message that even though technically the Joker is the star of the movie, that he is still the villain. Like, I am pretty certain that if they are going into the direction of something like King of Comedy or Taxi Driver, then they will still find a way to make this character someone that you shouldn't look up to really say that, yes, he is the bad guy. And if you're going to be someone who wants to rebel against society and PC culture and stuff like that, then that means you are the villain. And honestly, like, I do understand, especially, like, I get the misconception that maybe, like, they would find a way to protagonize the Joker, especially in an age when it does seem like a pretty recent trend of taking popular villains and making them the heroes of their own movie. We have seen that recently with Disney doing that to Maleficent, and also Sony taking Venom and making him the star of his own movie. And now Sony is going to go and try to make a whole cinematic universe with that, with the next one being Mobius, the living vampire. But honestly, I do hope that the case right over here is going to be completely different, that they do emphasize that the Joker is still the villain and you shouldn't be like the Joker. So hopefully, they will remember to put that message. But I will say overall, it does seem like a very fascinating trailer. It does seem like it's going to be a pretty strong movie. And honestly, for me, I feel pretty optimistic about this. This looks like this is going to be something that's going to turn out to be a legitimately great movie, a great frightening movie. And honestly, I look at this and I feel like it gave me a good first impression of who this Joker is. Not necessarily as a clown prince of crime that's the nemesis of Batman, but a serious threat and a terrible cult leader and a terrorist of Gotham. So the movie is going to be coming out sometime in October. I believe it's going to be on October 4th that the film shall be released, so it's actually going to be near my birthday. So let's just wait and see with what's going to be going on with the Joker. So, yeah, great trailer, great first impression of this new Joker by Joaquin Phoenix. So, yeah, I'm pretty optimistic about this movie. Okay, so with that said, though, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I want to ask you guys, what do you think about this teaser trailer of the Joker? Does it make you intrigued about it? Are you turned off by this? Do you think it's going to be good? Do you think it's going to be bad? Let me know what you all think of this. All right. Oh boy, we got a whole bunch coming up. Okay. This is most certainly going to be one of the most unique movies of 2019, as this is probably the first ever DC supervillain movie, but now only time can tell if Joaquin Phoenix's Joker can be a good successor to Heath Ledger's Joker. Though we can most certainly say that the Joker is going to be better than Jared Leto's Joker. Oh, absolutely. Oh, definitely. And I will say this, with my little dumb nitpick on the makeup of the Joker, yeah, like, it seems unusual to see the Joker as a literal clown. I would much rather go and take that Joker than the freaking Jared Leto Joker where they give him all the tattoos. Like, the red nose is a better fit than literally writing damaged on his forehead. I'm just saying. Okay, what else is there? Generally, I'm more of an MCU kind of guy myself. But yeah, this is a pretty cool trailer. Joker himself seems like a legitimate threat, and the performance from Joaquin Phoenix may not top Heath Ledger, but he's pretty good in his role, certainly more than Jared Leto. I'm not sure if I'll see it though, since the only DC film I saw in theaters was Teen Titans Go to the Movies, but even then, I was thrown out of the theater halfway through. Okay, that's interesting. And yeah, I'm sure a lot of people are going to make comparisons regarding how is he going to be compared to Heath Ledger and stuff like that, but let me just say that I don't think this really is a case where you need to make a comparison, because the thing is, Heath Ledger gave out a phenomenal performance as the Joker in The Dark Knight, and I don't think that's really going to be something that anyone can really top or can really get into that level. I think Joaquin Phoenix, like, he's going to be going into his own direction with this one. Like, he's going to be, like, he's not going to be, like, the madman. He's just going to be, like, he's going to be, like, the threatening cult leader. So he's going to be, like, honestly, the thing is, considering that this is going to be a completely different movie compared to all the other Batman films, this is going to be a completely different Joker, so I don't know if there's a point to really make a comparison to Heath Ledger, so I'm just going to put it out there. Alright, anyways, my thoughts on this trailer is that it makes me and most others that it's Warner Brothers' answer to Venom, where they take a villain of a superhero and make their movie. Though I think this trailer does a better job than Venom's trailer, and looks pretty good so far. Hopefully this will be better than The Killing Joke. As also, this isn't part of the DCEU, as it reminds me of V for Vendetta. Don't know, I will watch this. Yeah, okay. Now that is honestly an interesting comparison, though. It is true where there are some, you can see a bit of comparisons to V for Vendetta, and I do actually see that, but in a way, like, V for Vendetta is viewed more as a protagonist of his own story, especially when society is kind of like in this fascist regime where, like, it really is kind of the closest thing to turning society into Nazi Germany. So, of course, like, it is okay there to have society be viewed as the antagonist, because really it has turned into a bad guy, like, just completely consumed by far-right ideology. So it's good for V for Vendetta to do that. We, like, especially with this trailer, we have yet to fully see in terms of how society is in general, and it could be just the case that Joaquin Phoenix just encountered a few bad eggs and suddenly it just turned him into someone who is evil. And it's not necessarily just that. I'm sure there are going to be plenty of other incidents that are going to happen to him. Like, we see clips like maybe something happened to his mother, or like we see him on a date with this girl and maybe like he's not going to take the rejection likely. Or there's even at one point, like, he's just hanging out with his friend, and, like, you can even tell, like, this guy, in his eyes, like, he's probably the first one to notice. It's like, dude, you're crazy, man. You're just crazy. But yeah, like, we have yet to fully see the role of society itself. And we don't fully know yet if it's really going to take a protagonistic role or an antagonistic role in this case. We don't know how society not only would treat just the Joker, but plenty others as well. But it is an interesting comparison with V for Vendetta. I will give you that. Okay, let's see now. I thought this trailer looks interesting. I was hesitant at first when it comes to Warner Brothers and DC making too dark and gritty, such as Batman versus Superman. But after looking at that, it looks better than what I expected. This could be a chance that Joaquin Phoenix will do great, or at least better than what Jared Leto in Suicide Squad did. It is also possible that Joaquin Phoenix might get an Oscar nomination for Best Actor for his performance alone. It could. It honestly could. Hold on a sec. Let's see now. Daily reminder that the same guy who played a cruel Roman emperor, Johnny Cash, a fictional version of himself in I'm Still Here, and the Joker, also voiced a talking bear in a Disney movie that has been often overlooked. Oh, right. Yeah, I see. Yeah, like, a few people want to remind us that, like, yeah, it is true that Joaquin Phoenix did play the main character in Brother Bear, so I guess that is kind of the transition, or honestly, that is kind of the good thing, that at least, like, you know, like, he went through all that, but instead of being the Joker, he turns into a bear, and he decides to take vengeance into Gotham, and just, by being a bear, mauling everybody, like, basically treat everyone as if they're Leonardo DiCaprio in The Revenant. Just go around, it's like, screw you, screw you, oh, and especially screw you. Okay, but with all that said, though, I think we're going to be pretty much all good with this trailer of the Joker, and I could see that we are all excited for this movie, and hopefully it will turn out to be amazing, and who knows, maybe it could even outshine Shazam. I mean, yeah, Shazam right now is setting a pretty high standard. It put the bar real high, but we'll see how the Joker will go, because this could be DC's year. You never know. Like, hey, maybe it could even, well, maybe not box office wise, but maybe as a movie, it could even top Avengers Endgame. Who knows? But anyways, let's go ahead and we're going to move on to our next story, in which we got another trailer with us. Yes, this trailer, though, shall be animated this time, and often it has been overlooked, but I think it is important to go and check this one out right over here. Now, I'm going to be very honest, this is going to be my first time checking out this trailer, but I am a little bit familiar with the subject matter, considering that it is a sequel to a 2015 movie that I remember seeing, I remember liking it. It was very much the closest thing to what we got to the original Dumbo. Much more than the remake, actually. Where, with this film, it is actually simple, but it's simple in a way that actually works. It's very sweet and a lot of fun, and hopefully it will manage to recapture that magic. So let's go ahead and check out our next trailer with Shaun the Sheep Movie 2, Farmaggeddon. Okay. Alright. Well, honestly, I gotta say, I think my first impression is that it's definitely cute. I don't think it's really going to be the biggest, it's not going to be the most remembered movie of the year, but I could definitely say this is honestly a pretty cute movie. I could see, like, a bit of that simplistic charm that we have already gotten in the original Shaun the Sheep movie. The one thing that is kind of like, that is off-putting in terms of, like, the Shaun the Sheep theme is the fact that in just this trailer, I'm sure the movie itself isn't going to have that, but in this trailer that we got here, it has a narrator. Like, we got a guy explaining to you the whole thing about what's going on with Shaun the Sheep movie and introducing us to Lula. But the one thing I will say, though, that even though it does seem cute, it does seem kind of charming, it does seem like a pretty predictable plot. And this is going to be the part where I feel like this is going to lose a lot of uniqueness and a lot of memorability. Where basically, and like you even see some moments where like they kind of like spell it out for you. Here, like a good example would be like this little part right over here. Yeah, basically, this is E.T. starring Shaun the Sheep. That's basically what we got, where we have this cute little curious alien who is going around and discovering what this place is and has to go and find a way to get back home. That's literally, like, honestly, that's what it is. You might, like, honestly, I don't know why you even have Lula. You might as well just bring in E.T. at that point. And even at that, like, even for animated films, this is something that we have already seen before, and the type of plot line that has already been done plenty of times. A great example is The Iron Giant. Like, we've already seen it done in that film. And another example would be not too long ago, actually, with Home by DreamWorks. They already did this kind of film, except with that one, they just filled it with a bunch of pop culture references and celebrities like Rihanna and Jim... Crap, what's his name again? Jim Parsons, the Bazinga guy from Big Bang Theory. I don't watch that show, so I don't know, but you guys know what I mean. But with this one, though, it's like it's using the simplistic charm. So really, this isn't necessarily something that, you look at this and you're expecting anything that's fully unique in terms of the concept or the development. This is something that really does have to rely on its execution in order to win audiences. And I can definitely tell with Shaun the Sheep movie, it doesn't seem like it's going to have a hard time in order to capture the heart of audiences, to make sure the execution seems charming, seems cute, seems like a lot of fun, because we already have kind of the simple concept of Shaun the Sheep movie, where this movie, for the most part, is just going to be silent, where you're not going to have a dialogue. Even though we do have some human characters that are involved, they're not going to talk. It's going to be much like the original Shaun the Sheep movie. And another thing that I will add, and that is some good points to it, is actually the fact that I do enjoy some of the humor, actually. This does seem like it actually has some good jokes, much more than I could say than DreamWorks Home, actually. Especially one that kind of did, it actually did surprise me, would actually be right at the end, like after we see the title, and then like we see the character, like little Lula, just eating all the candy and then just unleashing a giant burp. That I will give it. Like, even though some people could say that, oh, this is, it's like, yeah, it's just dumb gas humor, but it actually did work in a way. I especially love, like, right at the end where suddenly you just see, like, a scene in Africa and all the characters are like, it's like, what the fridge is that? It's like a lion and an antelope, like, they had to stop on their tracks going, it was like, did you hear that? What's going on? So that I will give it. That, it's very rare that you would find a good burp joke nowadays. And honestly, like, I would even say that this burp joke could actually even top the one that we have gotten in Elf. The Christmas movie with Will Ferrell? Like, honestly, this could actually be a better burp joke. So I will definitely give a credit to that. But other than that, though, honestly, there isn't really a whole lot to say. But I will give it. Actually, there is one thing that I could see how it could be a lot of fun to go and check out, and that would actually be regarding the animation. Again, this is another element where the execution would really have to come in play in order to win the hearts of audiences and critics. And in terms of the animation that we have gotten so far, it looks like it really is having a lot of fun, and that we are going into different places. Like, we see this little FBI area in which it does look nicely crafted. And then on top of that, like, all the different elaborate plans in order to bring Lula back home, where all the sheep have to go and construct all, like, different ways to just bring little Lula back. And on top of that, speaking of Lula, we also have the different effects that Lula would do, especially when it comes to just making things float. Like there was at one point we see all the little the pigs that are just floating around, and then like we just see all these different effects, and especially the character of Lula herself, where they would have a lot of fun with her tentacles just playing around, especially like right at the end when we see Lula just eating all the different candy. This seems like something that the animators can have a lot of fun with. And there was even at one point where you do see like some well executed gags thanks to the animation, like when you see Lula trying to eat a frozen pizza, but then suddenly it's like it just boomerang, well, not boomerang, it's just like it just slingshots into a woman's hair, that suddenly the hair itself just goes into her bag. Now that, I have to admit, was actually that's a pretty good gag. So like we would have to expect a lot of fun slapstick humor in this film. So overall, I'm not going to be expecting a whole lot, but it looks like something that's going to be cute and a lot of fun. Maybe it's not going to be the most memorable animated film that we're going to get this year. It's not going to be something that will blow people's minds in the same way that we saw what How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World did. But it looks like something that it's going to be enjoyable. Kids are definitely going to love this. They will definitely enjoy the simplicity, the cuteness, and like even the parents and even the adults are going to like just the simplicity, just something that is not going to be big. It's not going to be like Avengers Endgame, or it's not trying to be something that's huge or extravagant, but just, some cute, simple little fun. And that's all that it's trying to be. And I think on its own merits, it looks like something that it could work. So, honestly, I feel like this is something that could be worth watching. Honestly, I'm not expecting a whole lot, but I feel pretty optimistic on this. Now, we don't have an official release date as of yet in terms of North America. It has stated that in the UK, it will be coming out on October 18th, but hopefully in the future, we will see it come in North America sometime later this year. If not, maybe in the beginning of 2020, but who knows? But honestly, I like what I saw in this trailer. Not necessarily as impactful as what we just saw with Joker, but you know what? It's cute. It's a lot of fun, and yeah, I did enjoy this one. All right, so I want to know into the chat wall right over here, and I want to ask you guys, what do you all think about this trailer of Shaun the Sheep Movie 2 Farmaggeddon? Did you guys like this? Did you guys think it was cute? Did you guys had fun with this one? Or do you not, are you more indifferent? Did you not like it? Did you hate this? Do you think it's more of an E.T. ripoff more than anything? Let me all know what you think. All right, so let's go ahead and read some of this. We already got some comments. All right, anyways. It says here, I wish to see this movie, but I don't think I can see it. I haven't seen a single Aardman movie released in my country after Pirates Band of Misfits. I can only see the first Shaun on the plane and Early Man during my trip to England, and yet the Shaun the Sheep series airs a lot on Disney Channel in my country. Okay. Well, I mean, maybe better luck. Like maybe better luck in the future. Maybe sometime in 2020 you'll get to see it. Let's see now. Being a huge Aardman fan, I'll of course be anticipating this movie. Even if the idea has been done before, hopefully this Shaun will bring his own charm into the movie. Hope this gets a US release soon. Okay, that's cute. That's nice. Let's see. For once, the beauty is in the simplicity. The alien looks adorable and the gags are very effective. Plus, it's the first time I actually found a gas joke funny, and I usually would find gas, burp, fart jokes and toilet jokes to be a big turnoff for me. Well, that's a great big benefit, because honestly, I think it's been a really long time that we've seen like a gas joke that actually works. Maybe like I know that recently people are taking breaks when it comes to like these burp and fart jokes, but nowadays, I feel, actually, no, honestly, I just had a bit of a flashback. Wait a minute. Hotel Transylvania 3 just did a fart joke, and it was not funny, much like 99% of that movie. No, but, like, this is the first time in a very long time that we have actually seen a burp joke where it's actually cute. It's actually pretty funny, and it is effective. And yeah, a lot of the gags are actually pretty funny in here. I actually did get some good laughs in this. Like, this is honestly a good pick-me-up after getting some fear from the Joker trailer. At least, like, we can end off this trailer streak in a bit of a happy note with this one. But yeah, it is true. I do agree. It definitely has some great gags in this. All right, let's see. I thought this trailer looks good, and I think it might be funny. The only thing I will be disappointed will be regarding the release date. The release date has been all over the place, and it just confirmed that it will be released in North America in Christmas time on December 13th. I'm still looking forward to this, though. December 13th. Oh, okay, so... Wow, honestly, I'm quite surprised that they're really going towards the end of the year for that one, but alright. Let's see now. Do we have any other comments? I'll just read one more. This might turn out to be pretty good. Not great, but I could say there are rarely any such thing as a bad stop-motion film. Since we know they always try their best to make every story seem great in every film. So this might turn out to be entertaining. Okay. Alright, that's nice. But I think from there, let's go ahead and we're going to go and jump onto our next story. And like I said before, this pretty much ends off our little trailer streak. We don't have any more after this. But for our next one, we are going to be getting into another live action project, but this time it does have a bit of an animation connection. This will be regarding one of the most beloved animes of all time, in which now we got our live action representatives. And I will definitely say that they are some pretty, interesting choices right over here. Okay, sorry. Just need to let out some of my gas. Alright, but anyways, let's go ahead and go and talk about Cowboy Bebop. Yes, Netflix has officially revealed the 4 main actors of their live-action series of Cowboy Bebop, which, by the way, there are only going to be 10 episodes, and they have confirmed that at least for the first episode, they got Christopher Yost to write the script, and for the first 2 episodes, they got Alex Garcia Lopez. But it's the actors that we are going to be looking into, in which they have selected on who's going to be in the crew of the Bebop. And first and foremost, let's go ahead and check out our main lead, which is going to be this guy right over here. Surprisingly enough, is going to be John Cho. And I got a lot to say on that one, because that's probably the one that really got a lot of people turning their heads. It's like, John Cho? What? That guy? That's going to be Spike? Yes, guys. He is going to be Spike Spiegel, in which it says here on through my source on The Hollywood Reporter, as it states, Cho will play Spike Spiegel, which the streamer has described as an impossibly cool cowboy or a bounty hunter with a deadly smile, a wry wit, and style to spare. He travels the solar system with his ex-cop partner Jet, pursuing the future's most dangerous bounties with a combination of charm, charisma, and deadly Jeet Kune Do. And then we got our next one, which is going to be Jet, which will be from an actor in Luke Cage, which is going to be Mustafa Shakir. As it says here, Shakir is playing his partner Jet Black, one of the few honest cops in the solar system before an ultimate betrayal robbed him of all that he loved, forcing him into a vagabond life of hunting bounties to put food on the table. Jet is an inveterate jazz enthusiast and the captain of the Bebop. And then from there, we also got our leading lady over here, which is going to be Daniela Pineda, whom she will be playing Faye Valentine, which it only says here as an amnesiac thief and con artist. And then finally we got Alex Hassel, in which this guy shall be the villain. He is going to be the man known as Vicious. the antagonist of the the antagonist of the series, who was the partner of Spike Spiegel, but now he's pretty much going on, like he wants to be the leader of his own clan, and he wants to go and try to kill Spike. So that's all that we know in terms of the main leads right over here. And the one interesting thing that I will note is that it is quite interesting to see that the series is going for a very diverse cast. Like, we got all different races represented for this version of Cowboy Bebop, which honestly is a bit of an unexpected, it's a bit unexpected, but, kind of an interesting thing. But it is a good thing that they did bring in some pretty strong actors here. But one thing that I will say, the one casting choice that I will say that I do approve of the most, funny enough, would actually be Mustafa Shakir. Yeah, he is black, but honestly, you look at his facial structure, like you look at how the dude is built, he looks the most like his animated counterpart. Like, he does look like a black Jet, even though it's like, his name is Jet Black. But anyways, looking at it, it's like you give him some real big mutton chops on the guy, he actually really does look the part. And considering some of the scenes that he was in Luke Cage, he does have some pretty strong credentials. He does look pretty believable. And with a pretty complex character like Jet, I'm sure he can manage to pull it off very well with a character that might have a little bit of a temper, but he can also have some strong sincerity as well. So that's going to be one person that I really am looking forward to. Admittedly, I'm not all too familiar with Alex Hassel or even Daniela Pineda. I'll have to wait and see with how their performance will go. But I will give credit to Pineda that she definitely does look the part, I'm sure she's gonna look great as Faye Valentine, considering that she is one of the most iconic femme fatales in anime, so much so that they would even parody her a little bit in Yu-Gi-Oh! With Mai in, with Mai. I was about to continue with Mai in Yu-Gi-Oh! But then again, like, wait, I already said Yu-Gi-Oh! But anyways, going back into this, but I will say though, the one interesting choice that I will say with this, and this is the one, like I said before, this is the one that seems the most curious in terms of the casting that really caught a lot of people's attention, would actually be John Cho playing the lead. John Cho is going to be Spike in the movie. Like, out of all the people that they got, like, the character that they got to play as Spike Spiegel, they ended up with John Cho. I mean, if you're really gonna go with that, you might as well get Kyle Penn to play as Spike, and might as well get a little Harold and Kumar reunion. And while you're at it, you might as well also go and get Neil Patrick Harris to play as Vicious. No, but in all seriousness, the thing with John Cho is that he's not necessarily a bad actor per se. He's got a lot of amazing credentials, and I think just recently he was in a movie called Searching, in which he got some massive praise for, so I'm sure execution-wise he will give out a great performance, but it's just that when you think about the roles that John Cho would normally be associated with, you don't normally think about the kind that would fit in the category of who Spike is. Not just in terms of his personality, but also in terms of the action that he has to do. Like, the closest thing that John Cho has done in terms of being Spike in Cowboy Bebop would be playing Sulu in the recent Star Trek movies. The ones directed by J.J. Abrams and stuff like that. Like, that's kind of the closest thing that you got. Like, he's, it's a sci-fi environment. He's in space. He's taking care of a ship. He's not necessarily the captain, but he is in there. That's, like, the closest thing that you got. But still, thinking about John Cho being the star of it, in which he has to provide a lot of the action as well, that's going to be pretty interesting to see. That's going to give us a bit of a new side of Cho, where he's going to be a lot more action-packed. Maybe he will have a little bit more of his personality integrated into this. Maybe that's going to blend well with who Spike is. But yeah, this is a bit of an unusual choice, but hopefully it will be a good choice. But I will say, though, out of all the characters that we got in here, of course, not all of them have been announced. And there is one casting choice that, honestly, I am waiting to see how they're really going to pull off. Like, I can have some confidence with people like Daniela Pineda, Mustafa Shakir, Alex Hessel, and John Cho to do their performance well. But I think a real testament, like something that people are really going to wait and see, is going to be who shall be Edward. And for those of you who don't necessarily know Cowboy Bebop, Edward is this 11-year-old girl. She is highly eccentric, and she can bring in a lot of the comedy in this, but she's also like a mad genius. She's also like this super hacker. So she does play an integral part in the Cowboy Bebop series. And that's one casting choice that I want to see who are they going to go with for this version of Cowboy Bebop. Because the thing is, you need to get a little girl who can be crazy. You need a little girl that can be as lively and eccentric as possible. Like, one thing I can guarantee you is that you cannot go and get a little girl that's someone like the one from the live-action Dumbo remake. Like, she would be the most unqualified to play as Edward in Cowboy Bebop, considering if you have seen the live-action remake of Dumbo, good God, that girl's performance, it's like she has the emotional range of a freaking plank of wood. Like seriously, if there's anything that you need to see Dumbo, it's just her performance. Oh my God. Like, I know maybe it just sounds a little too mean to go hard on this girl for her acting, but still, it was undeniably bad. Like, she would legit just be there like, come on, Dumbo. You can fly. Take the feather, Dumbo. I know you can do it. Like, imagine if they actually did brought her into this Cowboy Bebop where she has to play Edward, but she ends up with the same performance. Like, Edward will go hack for this. Edward likes Ein. Edward wants to go in the Bebop. Good God. Like, that would just be just no. You know, just no. But honestly, that is going to be something that we really got to keep an eye on because, you know, Edward is a tough character to pull off, but hopefully they will find a good little actress who will be able to pull off the kind of performance that can stay true to the character of Edward. So that is going to be something to remain to be seen. But as for all the other actors, I do have confidence that they can pull something enjoyable. They can pull off something that is fun, and hopefully something that will stay true to the anime. Now, we have yet to have an official release date in terms of when this is going to be coming out. Also, on a side note, I would like to add that with this adaptation of, with this adaptation of Cowboy Bebop, they actually do have a lot of the people who did work on the original anime to be involved with the production, rather it be as an executive producer or even as a consultant. Which it even stated right over here that Shinichiro Watanabe, who directed the original anime, is a consultant on the series, which first aired in Japan in 1998, spawning a manga and a film before coming to America in 2001, where it developed a major cult following and unleashed a wave of anime. So from here, it will Netflix will try to stay as true as possible to the anime, but then again, it's hard to really trust them, especially after Death Note, but we will see how things are going to go with this version. Maybe it will turn out great, maybe it won't, but honestly, with the actors, it is some pretty interesting choices. I do like the diversity that is represented here, but yeah, we're going to wait and see with how things will go with this one. And with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall right over here, and I want to ask, what do you all think about the cast of Cowboy Bebop? Do you guys think that they will pull this off well? Do you think these are good choices for the actors? Do you think they should have done better? Let me all know, what do you guys think? So let me see. All right. It seems interesting that they're doing an anime that's not just anime, but one of the best animes of all time, especially as a cowboy sci-fi action concept that you rarely get. But I'm still interested in, hopefully, it's nothing, it's nothing like Death Note. Also, there's an Akira live-action adaptation film in production. You gotta talk about it. Interesting that both anime had just been a topic over here. Yeah, and I'm just gonna say, on a side note, yes, I am aware about the news that apparently the production of the live-action remake of Akira with Taika Waititi, I think that's how you say his name. I apologize if I butchered that. And Leonardo DiCaprio, like, they actually did get a schedule of when they want to go and start filming on it, but honestly, that is more something that we're gonna have to wait and see. I don't think this is something that's worthy to really go and talk about over here, mainly because you never know what's going to happen, because it like with the Akira production, it's been so much on and off throughout the years that you never know what's going to happen. Maybe it will officially be something, maybe it won't. I don't know. I just don't feel like it's worth it. Anyways, let's see right over here. I might be looking forward to it since I do like the series, and I hope Netflix does it right in a live-action series. Also, have you seen the kid's performance in A Wrinkle in Time? He acted a lot worse than the girl in Dumbo. Honestly, no. Like many people, I have not seen A Wrinkle in Time, which is probably why it ended off as a box office bomb, but I guess I'll take your word for it. But yeah, I'm just gonna say right now, considering that I've recently been fresh off of Dumbo, it's gonna be hard to really top that level of badness in terms of kid acting. Like, jeez, especially with the way that the movie desperately tried to make her so prominent as the star. Like, oh god. Let's see now. What else do we got here? Do we have any other comments? Let's see. I kind of have no thought on this. Oh, okay, fine. You kind of have no thoughts. I hope that it does not whitewash the live-action version of Cowboy Bebop for Netflix. Just like all the other live-action adaptation of manga and anime, this is what it concerns me. You're concerned about whitewashing? Dude, look, have you seen, the cast is right here. We got like an Asian playing as Spike, we got a black guy playing as Jed, we got a white girl as Faye, and we got another white guy as Vicious. Like, this is pretty diverse. I don't think we got much whitewashing going on right over here, so I'm just saying. Yeah, I think whitewashing here is the least of this show's problems. Okay. But I think we're pretty much all good right over here, and I think it is now time that we shall go and jump onto our next story. And for this one, interestingly enough, I couldn't open it on my browser right over here. I had to go and open it on another one because the website seems to be pretty picky that way. But anyways, back to the story in itself. What I actually got over here is not necessarily news, but rather a fascinating story. This is actually regarding a lost project from decades ago that really is worth talking about, that really is worth looking back into, especially considering the subject matter is something that I'm also a bit of a fan of, and especially the strong connections that it actually has with another movie, Yellow Submarine. In a way, you could say that this film would have been the spiritual successor of Yellow Submarine. It was an animated film, heavily themed to the music of the Beatles. And this is actually from an article from the San Diego Union Tribune, which I gotta say that if you ever got the time, you gotta go and read this article out. The article is called Help! Fragments of Unfinished Beatles Animated Strawberry Fields Found in San Diego. And this is actually from, in this article, it would actually go and discuss about this animated feature from the late 1980s that was in production, but then it got completely lost in time, and even whatever footage that they got, it just disappeared. It's no longer there. But it wasn't until just recently where there's this one animator by the name of Jack Merkhart. He actually shared some of his concept art to the newspaper and now is sharing it, and this is the closest thing that we actually got to this actual project. Now the question is, what is this? What is this movie in particular? What is Strawberry Fields? Now, it's probably for the best that you go and read this article for yourself, but I'm just going to say right now that I'll do the best to summarize this. But Strawberry Fields was actually an animated project from the late 1980s that, even though it doesn't have any association with the actual Beatles themselves, like Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, John Lennon, or George Harrison, they weren't necessarily involved with the project whatsoever. However, this would have been heavily themed to the music of the Beatles. It was a highly ambitious project to make this animated feature where you take a whole bunch of the music of the Beatles and you would turn this into one massive story. And later on, we've seen something like that that's already been done. The best way to summarize it is, think about the 2007 movie Across the Universe, where it's this entire jukebox musical filled with a whole bunch of Beatles songs, but turn that into an animated film. And in here, in terms of the music, they wouldn't be just the same ones that they would have taken from a Beatles album or whatever. It actually stated in the San Diego Union Tribune that the movie's action would unfold over the soundtrack of archival Beatles recordings and covers from Michael Jackson, Cyndi Lauper, and other pop icons. So we would have also gotten some brand new versions of Beatles music, and I know it seems a little bit iffy right now, considering that it stated that, it would have had like Michael Jackson versions of Beatles songs, but you got to keep in mind though that this, it is the late 1980s, and this was before any of the allegations would come in that Michael Jackson would go and touch little kids and be but going back into the story right over here, now the interesting thing to actually go and note is that the one thing that this movie doesn't have, according to this article, is that it doesn't necessarily have a story. They don't really know much of what this plot would be about. All they know is just regarding the characters that they want to incorporate. They know about what songs they want to use and which animation style, and that's pretty much it. That's all that we know. The most that we could actually get is that the star of this movie would actually be a detective by the name of Jude, in which, if you are watching this, then you could see Jude as this curious fellow. He is a detective, but he's not like the snarky kind of guy. He's more of this wide-eyed kid at heart, in a way. That would be the best way to describe who that guy is. But of course, when you have your detective, you also got a bit of femme fatale, which is this sexy girl right over here by the name of Michelle. And on top of that, you also got a whole bunch of other characters as well that are actually based on different Beatles songs, which it says right over here, there were other human characters as well, including Mean Mr. Mustard, Taxman, a buxom, free-spirited barmaid. "Hi, I'm Molly," she said, in the only line of dialogue that's been recovered, "Fly me." And then on top of that, you also got some animal characters as well. It's an animated film, so why not have some animal characters? And especially with Beatles music, you do have a bunch of strange creatures and strange animal characters that they would go and discuss about. And in here, they mentioned that some of the characters that would have been involved would also include Rocky Raccoon, a one-eyed bear, an unnamed tiger, which they actually do have a representation of this tiger. We don't know where it's from, but okay, yeah, it's a tiger. And also a giant snake by the name of Obladi Oblada, which, yes, Obladi Oblada is actually a song from the Beatles, and we actually do have a drawing of the character, which, it's a giant snake. He has a long Fu Manchu mustache, oddly enough, a big nose, And he's also wearing a fez. Like, the drawing itself is like, he's just towering over everyone, and he's just picking up his hat and just like has like this snarky little look. He's just there like, good day. So yeah, that's Obladi Oblada right over there. So the question remains, though, about whatever happened. What is it about this movie that it just couldn't actually happen? Why did it ended up getting canceled? Well, according to this, is that the problem was that it was just way too ambitious. This was all independently funded. This wasn't from any big studio at the time, like from Disney or Warner Brothers or whatever. This was from an independent studio, and they wanted to make something that is highly ambitious. And they were well into production as well. It even stated right over here that approximately a third of the movie was actually complete. But the thing is that the ambition was just way too big, and it ended up getting way too expensive. And also, on top of that, there were a lot of complications as well regarding getting the rights to the Beatles' music, which they absolutely needed, since that is kind of the foundation of the whole movie itself. You kind of need that, the Beatles' music, especially when you do have characters named after Beatles songs like Jude, Michelle, Obladi Oblada. Like, they would go and create all of that, but then suddenly it just wouldn't work out. Like, they just really ran out of money. And of course, the complications of like not knowing if they truly do have like the rights to the songs or not. But also on top of that, you got to keep in mind about the other aspects as well that really lend itself to become a little too ambitious. Like, number one, the interpretation of the songs. Like, they want, like, as it stated before, they wanted to get like major covers of big name celebrities. Like, they wanted to get people like Cyndi Lauper and Michael Jackson to make new versions of Beatles songs, and that, I'm sure, might cost them a freaking fortune to go and make. And also, another element that has yet to be discussed here is actually regarding the animation itself. Now, in terms of the animation, I will say that it wouldn't be like Yellow Submarine, where the visual style is very abstract. It's very flat. In fact, they're going the complete opposite of flat, where they wanted to have some hand-drawn characters, but they also wanted to really blend some computer animation as well. Like, they really want to make computer animation as highly prominent as the hand-drawn animation right over here. And by the way, in terms of the hand-drawn style, one person that they highly discussed about in here is actually an animator by the name of Jeff Merghart, in which the drawings that are displayed in the article, they were all done by him. And if you look into the style, it's not like Yellow Submarine or whatever. It's actually very Don Bluth-esque. In fact, it actually stated in this article that Jeff Merghart, he actually jumped into this production right after he finished work on An American Tail, where he actually did do some of the animation on Fievel Mousekewitz. And you could tell that there is, that heavy Don Bluth influence is very much onto the characters, like with Jude, and even with, especially with Michelle, where this femme fatale style is very reminiscent to what Don Bluth would do. In fact, like, you look at Michelle, it's actually very similar to this. Like, hold on, let me show you like a good comparison for those of you who are watching. Like, don't you think like Michelle does have a bit of similarities to Princess Daphne in Dragon's Lair? So there is a bit of that comparison right over there. So you could see a bit of that Don Bluth style that is heavily influenced in this animation. But going back to what I was talking about, so imagine like the Don Bluth quality of animation in terms of the designs and possibly even the flow of the animation as well, on top of the computer animation, all that, it just accumulated to be way too much. And especially since we are talking about a production from the late 80s, I don't know if there would be any production company or any animation studio that would be able to afford to make this kind of movie of that caliber. It would just be way too much, especially when Disney was not necessarily in their strongest. Like, maybe they would have done it back then, but it still, even for them, it would have been way too much. And honestly, looking at this, I did, the thing is that I did share it on social media, and some people did ask the question regarding if it would be possible for them to actually bring this back to life. Like, would it be possible to make Strawberry Fields today? Well, honestly, I honestly don't know. I would probably even say no, because the thing is, to make this movie of this ambition, of this caliber, it's just way too freaking expensive. Like, even if you don't go and blend not live action, even if you don't go and blend hand-drawn with computer animation, even if you try to do it all computer animated, it's still going to be ridiculously expensive, especially with getting the license to the Beatles music. And you got to keep in mind, with the Beatles, we're not just talking about an old popular band back in the day. We're talking about the most influential rock group of all time. So yeah, like, trying to get their music onto this movie, it could be quite expensive. And then after that, you also got, like, the big name celebrities that you want to be attached to it, like the big name singing sensations to make covers of the Beatles. Like, that is going to be expensive as well. There's all these different elements that, honestly, this would have, like, nowadays, if you want to make it, it would have a budget, I am for sure that's going to be over $100,000. So honestly, maybe it would require a company like Disney or Pixar, who would be willing to spend so much on their animated films to actually make a movie of that caliber. So that's honestly the big thing. It's a big hurdle to come across. It would have been great, but yeah, it would just be crazy to go and actually do. And what's actually very interesting to note on top of that is that this was actually not the last time that someone would try to do this, to make this big homage to the Beatles in the form of an animated film. Now, you might remember early in the 2010 decade, Image Movers Digital wanted to make a full-on computer animated remake of Yellow Submarine, with their own style, with motion capture and all that kind of stuff. And the result of that is that, unfortunately, it ended up getting canceled. Actually, I shouldn't say unfortunately, because if you have seen the design of the characters and what they wanted to do with it, how they wanted to bring the characters of Yellow Submarine and bring it to computer animation, oh god, it's horrifying. Like, honestly, a lot of people say that, yeah, like, the computer animated films of Image Movers, like The Polar Express or Mars Needs Moms, they do look scary. But the Yellow Submarine ones, oh god, they bring fear to a brand new level. Like, if you want a good scare, go check out the lost concept art of the Yellow Submarine remake. That is freaking scary right over there. But yeah, overall, it does require, like, this is just to say that I don't think this really is something that can be remade right now to make a full-on ambitious animated feature that's entirely themed to the Beatles music, because it would just be way too expensive. It would just be way too much of a hassle to go and get all the different licenses, to get all the different celebrities. It would just be way too ambitious of a project, even for major animation studios nowadays, especially when animation studios, now they just want to try to keep things low. They want to have, they want to go and maintain a low budget for their animated features. They wouldn't want to go and try to create something that's big and ambitious and crazy. And with Disney, they want to maintain their own brand, so I don't know, it seems hard for them to try to also come across Beatles territory as well. So yeah, honestly, I feel like with this, it's very fascinating to go and share. It's very fascinating to go and check out all these different things and to learn about Strawberry Fields. And hopefully this is something that people can do a little bit more research into, that maybe more things can actually be uncovered in this lost project, because I will say it definitely does look fascinating. And maybe we will see, maybe one day they will uncover some lost footage, who knows. But yeah, this is actually pretty, honestly, it's pretty interesting. And again, it's a very fascinating read that you need to go and check out from the San Diego Union Tribune. Alright, so with all that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I want to ask you guys, what do you all think about this not Yellow Submarine, this Strawberry Fields project? Do you think it was interesting? Would you be willing to watch that movie? Do you think it would have ended up being made? I would like to know your thoughts on this one. Alright, so let's go ahead and see what we got here. It sounded like an interesting concept by how it seems like a mix-up of Disney and Don Bluth. I hope more stuff like this will be found in this project, but at the very least, we still got the Yellow Submarine. And just off topic, hard to say. I heard some people saying that the talk show host may end up like in The Dark Knight Returns. I'm not looking for any spoilers. Oh, okay, so it's just a thing about the Joker, but yeah, it is true. You're definitely right. We do have Yellow Submarine. At the very least, we still have that, which honestly, for me, I still consider Yellow Submarine one of my favorite animated features. It's just such a beautifully crafted movie. And on top of that, many people would even consider it one of the best animated features ever that really has made an impact in many different fields, not just in animation, but also music history, Beatles history, pop art, and all that kind of stuff. It's just, it truly is a gem of a movie. So yeah, at the very least, even though we don't have Strawberry Fields, we do have Yellow Submarine. So that's a good way to look into the bright side. Okay, let's see now. As a huge Beatles fan and animation like Yellow Submarine, it couldn't work at this time. It could greenlit this movie in the present day, but I think it could work only today because we still love the Beatles today. Also, we are getting another Beatles movie coming this summer called Yesterday. Oh yes, that's true. It's about a failed musician who remembers the Beatles, but not the whole world. So he took the songs and become famous by ripping them off. Oh yes, that's definitely true. So yeah, it does seem like a very fascinating concept, in which on top of that, in this article, it did actually mention so many different ways that it actually did mention how the Beatles still has a massive impact in our modern culture. And one of the things is actually regarding movies like Yesterday and some upcoming projects related to the Beatles. Let me just read that a little bit here. It says, thanks to Beatles-inspired films like I Want to Hold Your Hand and Across the Universe, the beat goes on. In May, Oscar-winning director Danny Boyle's Yesterday will debut, a rom-com about a struggling musician in a world that has never heard of the Beatles or heard their music. And Peter Jackson, the Lord of the Rings director, is mining 55 hours of unreleased video and 140 hours of audio for a new Beatles documentary. And this is not to mention that even recently, Ron Howard actually put up a Beatles documentary not too long ago called 8 Days a Week. So yeah, Beatles still has some major relevancy in our days. Let's see. Right now, do we have any other comments? Honestly, that Strawberry Fields is an interesting concept for me. It has a combination of hand-drawn animation and computer animation. It has Beatles songs, talking animals, perhaps a femme fatale as love interest, and the best of all, an animator worked this on San Diego. If a person wants to make that, it ended up like The Thief and the Cobbler. Well, I mean, it's not in San Diego. The studio that they worked on here, they had to be, it said so right over here now. It's, well, technically, Jeff Merkart is actually, in, La Jolla. Okay, yeah, so, the project was actually worked in La Jolla and in New York, so somewhere around, California, I believe. I could be wrong on that. But, yeah, it's just to point that out. Okay, even if this movie can't be remade anymore, I'd like to see a movie or a series made based on the Beatles that anyone can enjoy. The Beatles are probably the greatest band to ever exist, and I'd like to see more kids today getting into their music, so I think a movie or series would definitely help that. Again, there's always Yellow Submarine, you know, like, I'm sure kids can also enjoy that. Like, yeah, sure, the imagery, it's just flat out weird, but they're not gonna understand it. You know, they'll enjoy the imagery. They won't understand it. Hell, I don't even understand many of it, but it's still enjoyable to go and check out. Okay, but with all that said and done, let's go ahead and just move on to the grand finale. And I have one major story for you all today. Okay, now, this is actually going to be related to a subject that's not necessarily about animation, but something that I'm very familiar with. So yes, I am also going to be ending this off like I started with a bonus miscellaneous. And this is actually going to be regarding tabletop gaming. So what I mean by tabletop gaming, I mean like when you would go into an environment where they would offer board games for you to play, or like if you would go and play with Dungeons and Dragons, or in this case, you would go and play with card games. So this one would actually be specializing in stuff like Pokemon or Magic the Gathering or Yu-Gi-Oh! Now, I can tell you right now that I used to play a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! In fact, looking back, I would safely say for more than 10 years, I was a bit of a casual Yu-Gi-Oh! Player and took it a little bit seriously, where I would go to locals and play some of the tournaments there, and I would even go up to regionals and play a few rounds there. I never made it to top 8 or anything, but, you know, it was still a lot of fun. It was a fun hobby for me. But now it seems that they put up a brand new rule, and this is actually a rule that, oh my god, I wish they put it back in my day. And also, on a side note, I did quit a few years ago playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Usually, and I think I honestly stopped. It was sometime when they introduced, a little bit after they introduced the Pendulum Monsters, and at that point I just felt like, okay, the game has gone a little bit too ridiculous. It's spending way too much of my money, so I quit. So from there, they introduced a brand new rule. Man, I wish they had it back in my day, because it really is that much of an issue. Yu-Gi-Oh! Has introduced a brand new rule where they can penalize players for their body odor. Yes, it is definitely true. Now, Konami has set up a brand new rule for Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournaments that if you enter in a tournament and if you smell bad, you can actually get a penalty. They didn't necessarily specify what that penalty could actually be, but let me go into my actual source here. This is on the official Yu-Gi-Oh! Website in Konami for Yu-Gi-Oh! blog.konami.com, and it actually stated a brand new rule, which is under the section of duelist responsibilities for hygiene, where it states here, this is a new section requiring all person attending a tournament to be clean and wear clean clothing. If you or your clothing is excessively dirty or bad smelling, you can be penalized. And this is actually something that on social media people are freaking out about. That it's something that is a little bit of a laughing matter that this thing actually does exist. And they're pretty much clarifying a lot of the stuff that is going on and people expressing their concerns on top of that. There are even some quotes here. I'm reading from my source in comicbook.com. Some people even mentioning that there is a reason why every Yu-Gi tuber has done at least one video about people needing to shower before tournaments. Long overdue rule. This is someone from @Cubic Dorconia. And then we got another one from Big McGinty, as it states, falling into line with other tourneys, it's a good thing. We have a similar policy at the nerd store I used to work at. You just had people who didn't get it until you told them. So yeah, that's basically the big thing that people are talking about, that apparently now they are penalizing people in the case that they smell bad. And yes, that really is an issue, because I remember when I used to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Oh god, the one thing that is the most unpleasant throughout the whole experience has to be the godforsaken smell, because it reeks of dudes who just don't care. They don't care about how they look, and especially about how they smell. And these are people that it's honestly kind of questionable why they don't even shower. Maybe they don't know how to use it, maybe they're just allergic to water, or maybe, like, the concept of deodorant is just way too foreign for them. Like, it really is that bad of a smell. Like, I remember for my parents, like, when I was a kid and growing up as a teenager and stuff like that, like, they would often drive me to go to place to go and play Yu-Gi-Oh! And, you know, to drop me off. And from there, like, right after they dropped me off, they wouldn't, like, bring me to the store or anything. Like, it's usually, like, I would just get out of the car, okay, have fun, bye! And then that's it. And then just wait for me to say, like, okay, I'm done, come pick me up. And the reason for that is just that it's not that they were busy or had something to do or that they, you know, they love me, of course. It's just that they don't want to go in the environment where it smells. It's like they go in, they smell the environment, they're like, oh god, okay, come on, let's go. Like they really are in a hurry just to avoid that freaking stench. Especially when you go into a tournament, when you actually go into like a regionals where you got like 400 or like even just 200 people that are attending, the air is polluted. Like, oh my god, like climate change is happening in that godforsaken area. The air is freaking green. People are not allowed to raise their arms because that is a serious choking hazard right over there. Like, it really does smell bad. It's a lot, like, honestly, it's a lot like in China when you would see those news footage of people wearing masks because the air is just so unsafe and it has way too many chemicals. It's the same thing for Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournaments. The place smells so bad that you can't just, like, you can't breathe. That's the thing. If you breathe in there, you're gonna come out with something. Your doctor is gonna be concerned about you. But I will say this, though. The problem, though, I do have one thing that really does concern me regarding this brand new rule about body odor, about personal hygiene. There is one major problem with that. The thing is that when you would go into a tournament, it's not the fact that, oh, there's only a few selected people that smell bad. It's not like you can point out who's the smelly one. The truth is, most Yu-Gi-Oh! Players smell bad. And honestly, this is a generous estimation. But I would actually say that 1 out of every 5 people who play Yu-Gi-Oh! In tournaments, in locals, and regionals and stuff like that, 1 out of every 5 of them, they know what a shower is. They know how to use it. And they know how to use it regularly. And they understand the concept of what a deodorant is. They understand that. And the thing is that I can actually see a scenario where you're going to have players possibly abusing this system, where if things don't go well in their round of Yu-Gi-Oh!, they can actually call a judge and they can actually point to the guy, like point to his opponent and say that this guy smells bad. And you know what? It could actually work because most likely the dude does smell bad. So that's the thing, is that it's going to be hard to really go and pinpoint who's the smelly one and who to give the penalty. Because if this really is a problem, if you're going to disqualify all the players who smell bad, then oh my god, you don't have to do a top 8 or a top 16. Like, those people are immediately going to be the ones who did take a shower, who did remember about personal hygiene. So that's the thing, is that not even Thanos Snap would be able to eradicate all the people who don't shower while playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And honestly, on a side note, I just would like to add that a big part of this, of why people just don't necessarily care about showering, is that honestly, this is exclusively a guy problem. This is something that only dudes would do, that they don't shower and that they don't care. this is really just the guy's fault that they would go and stink up the entire tournament when people just want to play Yu-Gi-Oh! And I know that there are going to be some people out there on the internet, because nowadays there are a lot of guys who are very fragile and very sensitive about their masculinity and about their ego, that they would go and say, well, what about the girls? Maybe it's their fault that they end up stinking the place in tournaments. To that, I can go and ask, what girls? What women are you talking about? Because I can honestly say that 99% of people who play Yu-Gi-Oh! Are dudes. And again, 99% is, honestly, it's generous to say that 1% is actually girl players. Because the thing is, like I said before, I've played Yu-Gi-Oh! For many years. And during those years, I can actually count with my hands the amount of times that I've seen girls play Yu-Gi-Oh! In tournaments. That they would come out, they would hang out with the guys and just play Yu-Gi-Oh! And that's pretty much it. Honestly, it's extremely rare. It's nearly mythological. So that is not something that you can actually blame the girls on. And on top of that, I know for a fact that not showering is legitimately a guy thing. Because you gotta keep in mind, with girls, they gotta make it a habit to go and shower, to go and put on makeup, to look the best they can, to have a good first appearance, to put on perfume and all that kind of stuff. Because society puts in a lot more pressure on women in terms of their appearance, in terms of making a good first impression. With the guys, though, they actually got male privilege, and that male privilege allows them to not necessarily think or care much about body odor when going into a public area. They don't necessarily care. In fact, there are instances when guys would just all come together in an all sausage fest group, and the boys would come in, like, they wouldn't shower for days, and they would just smell themselves like, "Ah, yeah, man, that's the smell of a guy right over here. I smell like a real man." And I should know, as a guy myself, like, I understand that privilege, and I can be guilty of myself, not actually taking a shower and not really caring much about body odor. But I will tell you one thing. There is one instance, though, you will actually find a guy where suddenly he will care about body odor. There's only one time that he would, and that is when he needs to go and impress someone. When a guy has to go and he would have to be on a date or in an important meeting or in a job interview, that's when you're suddenly going to see the dude starting to be concerned about things he never thought of before. About body odor, about being clean, about how he would dress, about all that kind of stuff, about how, is his hair perfectly combed? You know, like, he would be a lot more concerned if the case would be to impress someone. But we're talking about freaking Yu-Gi-Oh! Right over here. So in the case of going into a Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournament, when going into your local card store or your local hobby store and just playing a few rounds of Yu-Gi-Oh! With the buds, there's barely any women right over there. Like, and even if there is a girl, there's a very strong chance, or almost every time, they already have a boyfriend, rather it be they're just on the side waiting for their boyfriend to play a few rounds, or they're already taken themselves. They're, like, when you're playing Yu-Gi-Oh! They're not gonna go and impress anyone, so they don't care about showering. They don't care about putting on deodorant. So for them, they just don't care. And that, honestly, is the main thing. That is the main problem. Is that when guys would go and play Yu-Gi-Oh! They're not there to impress. They're just there to play their little card games. And honestly, when it comes to their appearance, it doesn't matter to them. They don't really think about it that much. So that's why it has become a serious issue. And like one of the people on Twitter that they have stated, this is an issue that whenever you would look into someone, like whenever you would when you would see a YouTuber and their channel is specifically about Yu-Gi-Oh, they will always have at least that one video where they would completely rant about the freaking stench, about the freaking body odor. And honestly, I congratulate Konami for actually stepping up and doing something about this. Because honestly, this is not just an issue when it comes when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh. This is not just Yu-Gi-Oh! This goes towards any gaming tournament in general. This would go towards board games. This would go towards Dungeons and Dragon meetings. This would go towards LARPing. This would go towards video game tournaments like Super Smash. This goes towards anything like that, and towards other card games as well, especially like Magic or Pokemon or whatever. Whichever gaming tournament there is, they always have a serious issue when it comes to body odor. And at least Yu-Gi-Oh! Is gonna do something about it. So if there is one thing to take from all this, from this episode in general, or this new rule that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is implying, is that personal hygiene is important. And this is not, and this is not because of the whole PC culture that you need to be empathy for others. No, this is having empathy for the person that is most important. This is empathy for yourself. You need it more than everyone else so that you do not stink bad. Because now we live in an age where if you smell like garbage, we're going to treat you like garbage. We're going to treat you like how you smell. So that is why when you're going into a public area, always make sure that you smell good, that you go and take a shower, that you would dress yourself properly and not wear the same clothes that you have for the past 3 days. In fact, you must use this thing. This is a deodorant. You open it up. Oh, fudge. Okay. This thing is, yeah, I use this quite a lot. Let me just put this back in. But yeah, this is a deodorant. It smells good. You put this on your armpit so when you raise it up, you don't kill animals. That's the thing. Use this thing. Deodorant is your friend. So that's the thing. That's the thing. Please be courteous and please be a decent human being. It doesn't matter where you go. You don't have to impress people for it. Just have the decency to clean yourself, dude. Seriously. Okay, and that is honestly my little take on this. So that is honestly the thing with Yu-Gi-Oh! And I would like to go into the chat wall and ask, what do you think about this new rule about personal hygiene? Do you think there are more places that should have this rule? Do you have experiences where you're playing card games or board games, whatever, and the person smells bad? Let me all know what you think. Okay, let's see now. Sheesh. Don't you think this rule is kind of rude? My mom told me that some people do have trouble with their smell either because they have either poor water systems in their house or no matter how clean they can be, their natural odor kicks in. It also reminds me back in school, I had to sit next to some people who stink. I have to sit next to someone who has to stink, especially in the lunchroom. I ended up losing quite a number of friends and scolded by my teachers because my honesty towards them. Okay. You honestly say, oh, you think that's rude? You say that because you've never been into a frickin' tournament. Yeah, that person who stinks right next to, yeah, imagine a whole room of that. You don't know, man. You don't know. It's a serious issue when, you have an entire, football field that smells bad. That's a problem, dude. You just don't know. You say that because you just don't freaking know, man. You don't know the Yu-Gi-Oh! Environment. I have a friend who smells so bad, I just had to stay away without notice. I do my best to be clean. A lot of people like me smell. Okay. Alright, let's see. Another thing people need to remember is to brush their teeth so that their breath doesn't stink. Take SpongeBob, for example. Oh, that is so true. Brushing your teeth. Okay. Yeah, brushing your teeth is also another important thing because in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Environment, not only do they not care about what they smell, they also don't care about what they eat. Like, we're legitimately talking about dudes who think that, like, a giant bag of chips can be considered lunch. Like, that kind of thing. And, like, they would often have, like, freaking dirty Cheetos hands, which messes up their cards. Like, they would also have, what else? Like, you know, dirty Cheetos hands and, oh god, their breath. Yeah. Like, their breath, like, it adds into the smell. Oh god. Man, the toxic aroma. It's like their natural odor itself is bad enough, but like mixed in with their bad breath. Yeah, also that's another thing. Brush your freaking teeth, man. Brush your teeth. Take a freaking mint or something like that. Oh god. Okay. Conventions also have this problem, and it's sad that it has to be a rule. If you can afford convention tickets, you can afford a freaking shower. Holy crap, dude! You nailed it on the head right there. Yes, that's another thing. Of course, conventions can also be a problem like that as well. Yeah, and that is definitely true. And that should be a quote, man. If you can afford a convention ticket, you can afford to take a freaking shower. Oh my god, that's a good one, dude. I applaud. Like, who said that? Koopa? Yeah, Koopa Dude 1. I applaud you for that. That is a great comment right over there. Oh my god. Let's see. At first that sounded pretty ridiculous, but this honestly gives out a message how an obsession can really be under the terms to be more than what's important. Like, boys rather play games rather than do chores or clean rooms or even this case staying clean. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like sometimes, like when it comes to guys, like especially nowadays, like, their games are a lot more important than anything else. And I actually saw this on Twitter at one point that is actually a perfect example of this. That there was an article that was actually released that stated that guys are having less sex with women because of video games. Now, that is honestly something that I completely disagree on. Like, no, that's not it. And honestly, you look at the comments of people who responded to that article, it is hilariously stupid because you see a whole bunch of guys actually saying that, they're saying that they're defending video games and blaming the women for why they're not having sex. Like, they're trying to say, like, well, at least video games won't cheat on me with my best friend. Well, at least video games won't nag at me about something that I've done 3 years ago. And that's something that they have legitimately said. Like, they're legitimately blaming women for not having sex and rather play video games than being with women. Like, and that's the thing. Guys can often be a little bit too obsessed with their little games, rather it be with freaking Yu-Gi-Oh! Or with freaking whatever console game that they got, than anything else. They care more about games more than they do women and personal hygiene. And you cannot tell me that the problem is freaking women in this case, nor is it the video games or the freaking card games. Oh my god, it is absolutely insane, this discussion. But I think with all that said, I think it is time that we shall go and conclude this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. So I would just like to say thank you guys so much for watching. This really was a lot of fun. And tune in for next week where we will have more great stories to come and more crazy things to go and discuss about. So always remember, guys, that personal hygiene is always a great thing. So remember to shower, to brush your teeth, to go and, what else? Eat responsibly. Make sure you smell good. And remember, women and personal hygiene is far superior than whatever games you would play. And that is a fact. So with all that said and done, I would like to say thank you guys so much for watching. And until next time, see you later, dudes.